Yo, what is up, everybody? It's me, ProFoxPower here. Today, I am gonna make a tutorial on explaining how to make concepts in Photoshop. Now, it's not really that hard, honestly. It's a lot of practice, and you will get better at it. For example, if you go to the Fortnite.gg site, you can just search for any cosmetics. For this tutorial, I will pick Yun Huan. Now, if you just take this image right here, it takes you to this big image. And if you can't find any of these images and you just want like a style, for example, if you would just search up, for example, Fortnite Agent Jones, and then you just go to the Fortnite.wiki, the archive fandom, you will see that there will also be some styles. So if you go to the actual skin, if I can find it, it doesn't let me find it. Let me see if I can maybe do it for another skin, Vendetta, and that would be this one. As you can see, it shows the styles right there. And you could also just pick it from there. It's not that hard, as you can see. It shows the styles. So, yeah, so we pick this, we copy it over, and when we just load in a new file on Photoshop, you do need Photoshop for this, so Adobe Photoshop. We can just Control V it, and then this selection tool right here, we just click that. We can sometimes do select object, subject, which is right there, because we need to make a mask out of it. So if we select it, it sometimes selects the full thing. You can press Q to see what is selected. It will select it in this color, and if you want it to be a different color when it selects, I'm pretty sure you can just change that. It's over here. There is this button over here. You can change that if you want it to be red, so that it actually, when you do this, it's a lot easier to see. I personally like it in blue, so we're just gonna keep it in blue. So every time you do Q, when you have it selected, you can see what you have selected. You can't do anything with this when you are in that mode. So Control Z, by the way, if you want to go back to undo it, Control Z. So Q again, and then we're going to select it. So that's just a left mouse button, and you can select it just like this. And then it will track down the pixels pretty well. And it's just like a brush. You can just brush it over and it will track down the edges very well. So that's a little bit of doing that. And then we're going to see what is not selected. If you want to make it even easier, you can just do Control X, so you can see. This will actually just take away the whole thing, and you can see, or it's just cutting it basically, and you can see what isn't selected by just going over it and seeing like, oh, this is not selected, so we do Control Z to go back, select it, and then that is done. We can see that this isn't selected. Make sure that is. This right here should not be selected. Oh, but by the way, if you want to just deselected, it is Alt and then use the selection tool. So that's how you just deselect it. For example, I selected this. I didn't want to do that. I do Alt and it just deselects right there. And yeah, so we have it fully selected now. And now here comes the fun part. We can now color it. So first, what we do, we take this button over here, which is called Add a Layer Mask, and we just press it. Now, this background is fully removed and we make it a group. So we are on this part and we just make it a group. We do Control G, make it a group. We take this part. You see this white thing? You can just take it and you can put it on top of this. This will make it fully that mask and it will just color it in. So if you take if you're on this part, it's very important that you're on this, because if you're on this, it will just not work. You have to be in the group. You take this little thing over here, Do, for example, you can do solid color. This will just fully solid color it. For example, if you want to go for a full color red, you can do this by just doing this. And as you can see, it shows up like this, but then you have to fuck around a little bit with this, and there's a bunch of shit you can do with that by going through all the multiple things you can do here. So you can do darker color, lighten, screen, color dodge, lighter dodge at, then you can lighter color. This will select all the lighter colors to stand out, and all the dark colors to not stand out. All the dark colors, same for this one, and then overlay, soft light, heart light, lunar light, pin light, heart mix, difference, exclusion, subtract, divide, U, which is actually a lot easier for some people that don't know how to do concept, but I will show you everything, so don't worry about that. So for example, we pick our color here, which is going to be, I'm just going to go for purple. So now if you want to select this whole thing to be purple, it's already fully purple. We don't want that. So let's just say we want this emblem and all the red to be purple. We double click on this, it will open up the mask, and you can clear the selection over here. Now, this bit, if it shows up like this, you can just take the opacity and put it back up, put it back down, and then you have to do show edge like a few times so that it actually resets correctly. You take this tool, which again is a quick selection tool, and you just color it in. So here we take this red part over here. Yeah, we make it this color. So then we just cover it fully. We don't have to do this perfectly. Honestly, we do not. It's all about the tutorial, and if you want to make this perfect, you can just use a brush. So we take this brush out, and we just make it a little bit more perfect by covering the right spots. And this is just to show you that you can make it a lot more better. And then again, this logo over here, we just take that and make sure that not everything is selected. And to see what was selected beforehand, we show edge, and it shows you what was selected beforehand. If you want to show original, it will just show what is on the mask itself. So that's a lot easier to understand. Um, so as you can see, it will just show you this, and it's not perfect, but it's just to show you that you can fully color that. And you click OK. And if you want to do something with this, there's a bunch of shit you can do with it. You make the brightness go higher. But first, what you have to know is you can actually make a group out of it by doing Ctrl G, then taking the mask, putting it as the leader of the group, and now you can basically do anything with it. For example, you can put a pattern on top of it. For example, if you have the color as the main color, right? That's the most important thing. Then, for example, if you take a pattern, for example, I have some patterns here. There is some patterns, and I will show you how to do these as well. For example, if I take a water pattern, and I don't want it to be the water color, then you can actually put it under it, and it will just take the pattern itself, but it will always be purple. And you can also fuck around with that to see if you can make it look a lot better. For example, as you can see, it takes the water pattern and it actually puts it pretty nicely on top with the overlay option. Now, I don't really use that, so we're probably just not going to do that. But let's just use that. And then the most amazing part about this, you can just keep on changing colors when you've already changed it. So for example, I can just go full green or full yellow. And if it's too dark, you can do again something for this. You can go ahead and take either the saturation or the brightness contrast. So if we take the brightness contrast, we can just make it a lot brighter, as you can see. And then we can take the contrast, put it up, and this will actually give it more light. If you take the contrast away, it will give it less light, but it depends on what you want. So if you take the contrast up, it actually will make it a lot like that. For example, there's another thing you can do. You can take the curves. Now this is a little bit tricky for some people, might be, but you can take the curves. You can basically just pick this up for whatever. Um, you can take the curves. Let me just close those up. These are patterns that I used. Uh, it might be a little confusing if you see these. So you take this little thing over here. You select which curve you want to get up. For example, if you take this lighter area right there and we take it up. As you can see, there is a bunch you can do with that. You don't really have to. It's actually pretty unnecessary. I only use it a few times, and if you want to just delete it, you just delete it twice, and it will get deleted. So, yeah, that's pretty nice. And you can also use these boxes to show the layer. So if you, for example, just don't want to show the water layer, you can turn it off. If you don't want to show the color layer, you can turn it off. I want to show the brightness layer, you can turn it off and so forth. So now, if you want to do a pattern on top of the hair, for example, you could just take the pattern out, take the water, for example, or we take the cube, for example. I'm just going to use the cube, and now it appears a bit weird, right? First, we go into the mask, which I already showed you, clear selection, show edge twice, go to the selection tab, and we're gonna make the hands, we're gonna make those into a cube color. So as you can see, it doesn't select it perfectly. We're gonna make sure it does, and um, it's gonna be a lot easier when we do so. Give me a second here. So I'm gonna cancel. I'm gonna put it into color, and yes, this will just make it a full color and not really give it anything. But this is just that it tracks easier because it actually becomes less solid. So it's a lot easier to track. So we take out, as you can see, we just take this out and we just select the hands. Pretty self-explanatory. So it selected the whole hand. By the way, there is something I need to fix here. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. There you go. It's just that the limbs weren't correct. So yeah, selected the hand right there, and then we make it a group so we can actually make changes to it. So again, that's Control G by clicking on it, taking the mask over to the leader of the group, and boom, that's done. And if we want it to be showing the pattern itself, we can take it into overlay. This is a nice trick I use personally. And then we turn the brightness up. So we turn the brightness up, we turn the contrast a little bit up, and then if you want to make it appear a little bit better, we double click on the pattern and we make the scale a little bit less so that it actually appears a bit better. But first we need to make sure that it kind of appears a bit better. So we can do it on like 75, I guess. Yeah, it looks kind of good. And again, this is a really nice part about it. You can actually copy over certain parts that you want on the skin. For example, if I want the color to appear, or you want this whole, this whole pattern to appear, we can select it and then Shift select and then Control G to copy it over, and we take it to the group. Now it's in our pasteboard, right? It's in our so we can copy, so we can just like put it in. So now we Control V, and as you can see, it just takes over that whole color and puts it on top of it. Pretty nice. I really do like that you can just do that. And that you can also make sure that so let's just say we want this to be the poll and the logo. Just do poll logo. And this would be the hand. So, and if you want it to color the hand on the other side as well, very easy. Take the mask. It just will completely understand that you are taking that mask and coloring it over. So you can just do that. It's very easy. It's very self-explanatory. Now, for example, if you want to give the jacket a nice color. I don't know which one. It really depends. Let's just say we'll go green. It's a little bit harder when you want to color something in that is actually already uh, pretty much colorless. So, for example, we just select it. It will look a bit weird. I'm just going to see if I can do this kinda. I'm just going to select this part just so that you can see an example. So we selected this. It looks a bit odd, but yeah, no, it doesn't look perfect. So we take it, we make it a mask, we make it a group and everything. We take the mask, put it in there. As you can see, you can just put it over there. I mean, just dragging it over. Don't press Alt. If you press Alt, it just copies it. Just drag it over. And then we take the brightness, get it a little bit brighter, or make it darker. There's a bunch of shit to make it work. I personally would just use the curves. It's a lot harder, I know, but it will make it look a lot better. So we take the curves. This can be a little bit brighter. Maybe a little darker, actually. I think when we make it a little darker, it's actually going to appear a bit better. Now, we can go back into the selection and actually use this to put on all of it. So we're going to do that. So again, deselect with Alt G. If it selects things you don't want to select, just do that. And we just take this. There you go. I don't want to select the top part of the jacket. Again, if you want to see what is selected, you can just take the opacity up. I have not actually shown you this, but if you take the opacity up, you can see what is selected, and you can kind of pinpoint. It's okay if it doesn't select it fully. As you can see, there is some white spots. This is fine because it's masked and it will not show. So that's totally fine. Now what I want is actually I kind of want to take this color into the jacket over here. So as you can see, that's too light. This is exactly what I meant with if you color it, it will look a bit weird on certain textures or certain colors. So I would just like to take this color and just push it in there. Again, make this a mask, so we can just mask it, and then we can clear selection, and then we can just color it in. Boom. As you can see, that looks pretty good. I really do like that. But it did select some of the skin, and we don't want that, so let's make sure we don't have that. All right. And if we want to apply the, let me see here. I'm just checking. And no, this doesn't look perfect or anything. I know it's not to make looking perfect or anything. And if we want to apply the pattern itself, we can do that too. Again, I'm going to do that to all of these parts. So and we're going to make sure that that's on at least like 100 or whatever. And we can also move it around. As you can see, it shows that we can move it around. So we can also do that a little. So now, the only thing that's really much left is some things with the hair and the pants and the eyes, because I go for the eyes sometimes too. So let's go for the eyes. This is actually a lot easier. I usually just use the brush tool for this. We take out the blue, and again, we just make it color, and clear selection. Go over here, take out the brush tool, and make sure that we select it in a good way. All this brown, you can definitely see which is brown and which is not. As you can see, it becomes fully blue. And if you want to make it a little bit brighter or just more standout, we can make it, for example, a color dodge add, a linear light. But I think I'm going to go for color dodge because it actually looks pretty cool with that. And that is that. And if you want to keep changing that, we just put it into a group so that you can keep changing it. For example, if you want to make it a lot brighter, you can make it a lot less bright. You can, and stuff like that. We don't need to use that, so I turned it off. And now for the pants, I'm gonna go for a gradient. So gradients are actually pretty simple. There is a bunch of gradients you can choose from. And if I just take that gradient and I'm just gonna go for like this pink. And I'm gonna make sure that appears on the pants, kinda-ish. Yep. And we take it into color. Clear selection. Make sure we select the whole thing. Pressing that button twice. I'm going to select everything. Sometimes when you don't see your or you don't see your circle anymore in your cursor, all you have to do is just do caps. Because like if it shows like this, just do caps lock on your keyboard, and it will just go away. So that's quite easy. So I'm just going to select everything here. Now, sometimes when it does this, it's really tough to be able to just like make it appear right. So I'm just gonna group it together, make the mask, and it's a lot harder to understand how to make this shine or whatever. It's a little bit of fiddling, and to make it look like it's supposed to look, because like this is what it normally is supposed to look. And if you take, for example, the linear light or take the overlay and you take the hue saturation, I think you can put it up, but it's gonna look a bit weird. Yeah. So that's a little bit of fiddling. Sometimes you're gonna get better at it. I didn't understand it at first, but you are gonna get better at it. I think it's important to show for you guys how to turn a black color into white. I think I'm gonna show you that. So I have this already. So we already have the white. If we take it into color, it will just make the lighting disappear. That's all it does for this one. So for example, if you want to make this appear, let me go ahead and make it red. It's a little easier to track down then. So I want to make this appear on everything that's black on the body. So we make sure we do that. It's so nice that this is such a smart tool. It tracks down really easily. And as you can see, like I could just color this in almost perfectly because it's such an easy tool to keep tracking down. I'm also gonna do this. There you go. Oops, a little bit of that. Yeah, that should be good. And we take it back to black, and then we take the brightness and we turn it all the way up. The contrast, we touch that only if you want to. I personally will just put it down and fuck around with that later. Take another brightness all the way up, and then we take the contrast all the way down, and we take it a little bit down. And as you can see, you just created your own concept. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you want me to explain a lot more, then just tell me in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.